In this lecture, I want to show you how you can connect from TeamCity to your source control system in a more reliable and secure manner. As you know, we went to our .NET Core projects and we created a VCS root. This VCS root is called .NET Core source, and if you remember, we use a username and a password in order to connect to GitHub. Apart from username and password, we can use keys as well. The downside of using username and password is that obviously if the password gets changed, then the connection from TeamCity to GitHub is gonna break, or if you disable or delete this user, again your connection will break. So instead of using username and password, we can create keys and load them into TeamCity as well as to GitHub and use the keys to connect. One thing I need to remind you of is that keys are loaded at project level, so you can start from root project and load your keys via SSH keys tab. All the subsequent projects have the same tab as well. So if I go to .NET projects, which is one level below root project, again you see that SSH keys tab exists. This is very important, and you need to remember that you have to upload your SSH keys to the same project that defines the VCS root. So for example, in here VCS root has been defined in a project called .NET Core projects, which is underneath root project. So your keys should be loaded into the same project. If I create SSH keys and load them to root project, then your child project will not be able to see those keys. So keys and VCS roots have to be in the same project. And we load the private key to TeamCity and we load the public key to GitHub. So where in GitHub? If you have an organization or if you have a user, either way there is a settings for you. So if you are inside an organization, an owner user can do this. Your user has to be owner of that organization. Or if this is your personal account, then again you have your own user. Either way, you have to go to that user and then go to the settings menu. And when you are in the settings menu, you will see that on the left side of the screen there is SSH and GPG keys, and we have to load the key in here. So the first step obviously is to generate a key, and I will show you how you do that both in Mac and Windows. In order to create SSH keys in Mac, just open a terminal window, and in terminal window type this command ssh-keygen, then provide a file name -f for example, and give it a name. For example, I can say TeamCity. And one thing that you need to remember is that TeamCity now is expecting you to provide a PEM file, so the older format is not accepted by TeamCity. So you need to make sure when you create your SSH key, you provide -m switch and the PEM as the format. If you don't do that, then TeamCity will reject this key. And when you press enter, then SSH keygen will ask for the password, and what you need to do is basically just don't provide a password or passkey. All good. Your keys will be generated in the folder that you are in. Normally you put your keys in a hidden folder called SSH, which means that should be .ssh. So if I get an ls command, you will see that I have a key called TeamCity and TeamCity pub. Now we need to load this key. We go back to our TeamCity, and as I said, we have to be in the project that defines the VCS root. So in my case, it's not in the root project, it is in a project called .NET Core projects. We go to the settings of that project, we click on SSH keys. We can click on upload SSH keys, provide a name. For example, I can say this is my GitHub key. Click on choose file and make sure that you are in SSH folder if your keys are all stored in that folder, and open the key and click on save. So your key is now loaded to TeamCity. Now we have to load the public key to GitHub. In order to do that, you need a finder window. Go to the SSH folder and or wherever your key is, find a pub.pub, and we open it with a text editor, for example with text edit. Okay, once you have it, just Control A or Option A and Control C or Option C just to copy it to clipboard, and we go back to GitHub. Then click on new SSH key. The title is, for example, TeamCity, and paste the public key in here and click on add SSH key. So your key is now added to GitHub. The next change is that where you connect to your repository, you have to use the SSH instead of HTTPS. So by default, you might be on HTTPS like this, and this is what we used when we provided username and password. The link begins with HTTPS. You have to click on use SSH, and your link should start with git@github.com or something like that. So we copy this to clipboard and we go back to our project where we define the VCS root, and we have to change our VCS root definition. The biggest change we have to make is that we have to make sure instead of HTTPS, we are using the SSH URL, which begins with git, and CI/CD demo, as you know, was our repository parameter. And the next step is that we have to go back to authentication method and change password to private key. And you can use uploaded key. Uploaded key means that the key you uploaded to this project. If you don't change this fetch URL from HTTPS to SSH, then all the key options in here will be disabled. Once you change it to uploaded key, remove the username and choose the key you have uploaded, for example, GitHub. And now if I go click on test connection, my connection should succeed, and we are done with this. So by doing this, we are not using a username and password anymore. There is a key shared between GitHub and TeamCity, and that enables us to connect to GitHub. The exact same procedure works for Bitbucket if you use Bitbucket. Now, in order to create SSH key in Windows, you need to get the utility of SSH key gen, and there are multiple ways of doing that. You can enable a service or you can just download it. The easiest way is that you just download Git for Windows from gitforwindows.org. So if you go to gitforwindows.org and click on download, you can download Git for Windows, install it. I have already done that, so I won't show you how you do it. So download Git for Windows and install it. Once you install it, go to your start menu and type git bash, and you will see there is an app called git bash, and make sure you run it with administrative privileges. Git bash is basically a command prompt that gives you Linux in Windows. Once you are in here, you can run the exact same command. So we can say ssh-keygen-f, for example, teamcity-m pem. Exact same command that we executed on Mac can be executed here. And that gives you the keys. When you create the keys, your keys will go to your home. So if I open Windows Explorer, then if I go to user profile, percentage user profile, you will see that I have a couple of keys here. One of them is public key, one of them is private key. The next is exactly what we did in TeamCity and GitHub before. You just repeat the same procedure. So as you see, if you get git bash, you can run a lot of the Linux commands on your Windows. So I recommend that you go with this approach. I hope that you enjoyed this topic as well.